President Trump turning up the heat and doubling down on his fire and fury warning to North Korea as the Hermit Kingdom threatens to fire missiles toward our base in Guam.
Frankly, the people that were questioning that statement, was it too tough? Maybe it wasn't tough enough. They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough.
Later this afternoon, the president continued his tough talk, sending a strong message to dictator Kim Jong-un.
He has disrespected our country greatly. He has said things that are horrific. And with me, he's not getting away with it. I read about we're in Guam by August 15th. Let's see what he does with Guam. He does something in Guam, it will be an event the likes of which nobody's seen before, what will happen in North Korea.
And when you say that, what do you mean?
You'll see. You'll see. And he'll see.
Is that
He will see. It's not a dare. It's a statement. Has nothing to do with dare. That's a statement. He's not going to go around threatening Guam, and he's not going to threaten the United States, and he's not going to threaten Japan, and he's not going to threaten South Korea.
Poor Guam now finds itself in the middle of a big game of chicken between these two men. So he's really setting himself up for a serious situation next week. So if missiles are fired near the waters off Guam, the president has to respond very dramatically.
Well, that's what he said. It's interesting because people, even General Jet Keane the other day when he was on this show, he said that he wishes he could give the president a do-over on the fire and fury statement. But the president's instincts are always slightly different. And he's speaking to people in America who are like, what? I like strength. Like when President Bush said, bring it on, bring him on, and dead or alive, and the media went, oh my gosh, he's a warmonger. I remember personally just saying, I'm for that.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to me. I do think on the Guam piece, it is kind of interesting. Is it Guam because Kim Jong-un does not have the capability to send a missile anywhere else?
I believe that.
But why would you waste an opportunity on Guam if you don't know if President Trump's going to act? Why would you do that if you get... I think that this calculation is sort of strange, but one of the experts we had on the story, Dennis Wilder, he believes that Kim Jong-un has given us his playbook, and he is absolutely going to run it. He expects there to be an attack.
So if missiles are fired off the coast of Guam, Kimberly, I think it's about 17 minutes before they hit their target. So the United States has to act very decisively. What would be the appropriate response?
Well, I think that the problem is if you even let it go to that point, we've waited too long, right? If you're going to try to intercept at that point of like maximum velocity from North Korea, then we're already operating at a disadvantage, right? Because then we have very limited options available to try to avert disaster. And I think what President Trump is talking about is something that would, you know, I guess be a precursor to that would preempt it and wouldn't allow it to get to that situation where the advantage is with North Korea. I don't think he's ever going to give up the advantage as it relates to the United States and our positioning, and that's why I think he's doubling down on this. Everyone was upset about fire and fury. Well, he's like, listen, I'm going to back the words up, and he said, in fact, maybe that wasn't strong enough, and that's his style.
If I could just add one other thing, the United States doesn't necessarily have to act. Japan and South Korea are both mobilizing, and they would be closer and able to.
Better tactical advantage.
Mo, how do you feel about the president's strong rhetoric with regards to North Korea?
Look, first, I give him a tremendous amount of credit for the early diplomatic moves, right? The fact that he was able to get a 15-0 Security Council resolution, that was a huge diplomatic win for the United States and a huge diplomatic win for him personally. I'm a little nervous about some of the rhetoric now. And, you know, thinking back to my old international relations classes and back when I was in college, one of the things that really stuck with me is the rational actor theory, that when it comes to international relations, it's like one big chess game. Every move you make is predicated on the notion that the other side is going to react rationally. I think that can be said about almost any country in the world except for North Korea. He thinks he may be speaking a language that the North Korean dictator can understand, But there's no telling how this guy interprets this, right? He may not internalize it the way you or I, as rational actors, or any other foreign head of state would do it. And so that makes me a little nervous. We are dealing with an incredibly unpredictable, volatile person who now has nukes. It's tricky, and I'm not sure that doubling down and tripling down is the way to turn the corner.
So you believe this guy we're seeing on the screen might have a death wish and doesn't care about survival. What do you think about the Hermit Kingdom, Greg Gutfeld?
I think it's a great name for a band. You know what? I think Donald Trump, it's refreshing rhetoric. I think it's important. I disagree with Mo. I think it's important to speak their language, because what you're seeing is negotiation and you're seeing bluffing. You wonder why he chose Guam, because it's a bluff. I believe it's a bluff, and this is where I'm going to say something completely different that people may get angry about, but there is room for sympathy for North Korea, and here's why. The Korean War ended in a divorce. South Korea got the greatest parent ever, the United States. We loved them, we protected them, we cared for them. The consequences, the results, a massively successful economy. South Korea had a great parent. What parent did North Korea get? Commies. China and the USSR, they couldn't afford to take care of them. They didn't want to take care of them. They didn't clothe them. They didn't feed them. They were terrible parents. And the reason why they were terrible parents is they were scared of North Korea becoming successful, so they treated them like crap. So what you have now is you have a child. North Korea is essentially a child that has been scarred. And what does a child do? Its rational way of thinking is survivalism. And a scarred child survives through bluffing. It acts tough because it knows that if it doesn't act tough, it's going to get ruined. So the solution, when you think about it, is how do you help this child that has been screwed by terrible parents for 40 years? A child that smartly realizes that it must bluff its way to survival. A child that feels that it needs nuclear power or nuclear weapons to survive. And who are we to say no? And I'm beginning to think that who are we to say no if you have been treated like crap for so long? I don't know. So I think there's a way to negotiate with these guys if you understand that for the past 4 decades, everybody's gotten great stuff, but they've been stagnant in a permanent mess forever, essentially a mole that hasn't ever gone malignant, but has promised to go malignant.
Why is that?
Because I think they realize this is their way. Like, whenever things get bad, they act up. And it's their way of defending themselves. It's kind of, it's a pathetic, sad world.
Kim Jong-un. I wouldn't say it's the people of North Korea.
Well, absolutely.
Because they are his victims.
Yes, exactly. And
so this is about somebody who is just wayward and trying to, you know, is a narcissist.
I think it's the only way they know.
Trying to do
it's the only way that family knows how to do this.
So how do you give this guy an off-ramp where he saves face and can kind of come back and not fire missiles at Guam?
Well, I think Secretary Rex Tillerson is trying that as well. I think that actually the administration is talking with one voice. I don't think that they're necessarily thinking that President Trump's off on one place, Mattis on another, and Tillerson. I actually think they're saying variations on a theme from 3 different people, and that Tillerson is the one from the State Department saying, you know, there is a way for you to get right with us, and you can choose that, but we're not going to mollycoddle you because we are better parents. Interesting, though, about rational theory is somebody like Gaddafi. So Gaddafi saw what happened to Saddam Hussein and was like, okay, here, Condi Rice, please take my nuclear weapons. And then I think, you know, there are other players. Iran chose a different path, and they have a different situation. But this one is, I think, different in that their problem is that they're a child that is now a threat to innocent people into the United States. So we can't be a good parent to them. We have to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I think by protecting ourselves is we have to find the on-ramp for them to save face and return back into their dark existence, because it's a dark world they live in, and it'll be a permanently dark world for those people, but it's the only way they think they can survive.
We also need to get the other parent to step up, though. I mean, that's the thing. China is, I mean, it's almost cliche now, but China is the key here. And if they're if they were part of the problem that helped get us to this place, then it's time they step up and do their part.
Last word, Kimberly, what do you think the prospects are of China really coming to save this thing from disaster?
Strong.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I think they have no choice now but to get seriously involved and not just in a rhetorical way.
All right. Well, the ball's in China's court. Up next, President Trump confronting Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell over the failure to pass a health care bill. Ed Henry with the inside story of a tense phone conversation between the two men. Up next.
President Trump is stepping up his criticism of Mitch McConnell, taking several digs at the Senate Majority Leader today. Our chief national correspondent, Ed Henry, is tracking all the latest developments from the White House. Ed, I got your title right this time, so give it to us straight.
Well, no more booing, Greg.
So mean.
In remarks at his golf club today, President Trump was very direct and blunt in saying that he's disappointed in the performance of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, saying that a bill to repeal and replace Obamacare should have been on his desk week one, maybe even day one of his new administration. And in a private phone call with McConnell yesterday, the president was even harsher, not just going after him about his performance as Majority Leader, but very upset about a speech McConnell gave earlier this week in Kentucky at a Rotary Club, where McConnell basically said that because of the president's lack of political experience, he's suffering from excessive expectations about exactly what Congress can do with his agenda. Yesterday and today, the president has also fired off a series of tweets going after McConnell directly, including one this afternoon in which he said, quote, "Mitch, get back to work and put repeal and replace, tax reform, and cuts, and a great infrastructure bill on my desk for signing. You can do it." A couple of hours later, reporters pressed the president on comments by Sean Hannity and other conservatives that if McConnell can't get the job done, maybe he should simply step aside and resign as leader.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he doesn't get repeal and replace done, and if he doesn't get taxes done, meaning cuts and reform, and if he doesn't get a very easy one to get done, infrastructure, if he doesn't get them done, then you can ask me that question.
But the bottom line on the president raising the temperature on all of this is that he's stuck with McConnell, at least for now, in terms of shepherding his legislative agenda. And if Special Counsel Robert Mueller continues to turn up the heat on that Russia investigation, the president is going to need as many allies as he can get on the Hill. And Dana, you heard more booing from Greg there. I simply don't care because I know viewers listen closely to my reports in order to stay woke.
Very good, Ed. We love having you. Thank you so much. We're going to take it around the table now. Kimberly, I'll start with you. You know, remember I used to say addition is better than subtraction?
I always liked it.
Yes, and public criticism is never necessarily good. But I also think that this was actually pretty mild from Mitch McConnell. I think that if you read if you see how Mitch McConnell said it versus how the media reports it, it got all, bustled up.
Yeah, blown out of proportion, and yeah, it escalated pretty quickly, like a hot air balloon. But first of all, we know that, yeah, I think it got taken out of proportion in terms of what Mitch McConnell was saying. But as it relates to the president, he doesn't like anything like that of any nature. Meaning, if you're going to try and poke at him a little bit, he's going to punch hard back at you. He doesn't tolerate it well, and he has no time for it. He has no bid for it. So it's not helpful in any regard. What I would have liked to see is all this effort put into health care.
Yeah.
And to getting immigration reform and tax reform and all the things that we need, to get done. So it doesn't seem like that working relationship is working so well.
I think it's probably not that bad, but Jesse, Mitch McConnell does need President Trump's help. Yes, in order to get tax reform done, and actually, on tax reform, unlike with health care reform, they already have a plan. The president's going to be out there in blue states where they have, red states where they have blue governors, so that they'll try to press them, and they actually have a communications plan to see it through.
Yeah, they both need each other. I like how Trump is treating McConnell like a boss treats an employee. He's like, hey, Mitch, get those reports on my desk at 5 or else you're fired. I mean, it's unbelievable. But you understand why the president expected Obamacare to be repealed and replaced, because the Republicans promised for years to repeal and replace Obamacare. The president expected McConnell to do his job. He didn't do his job, and now he may be out of a job. President Clinton...
He's going to be out of a job.
Well, listen, he might not have that leadership anymore if there's, people rising up. And that was a threat. I think the president just delivered a strong one. So when Bill Clinton was president, in the second term, he didn't have either houses, and he signed bills. President Bush had a divided House and Senate. He signed big bills.
But you know why?
Obama had both houses. He signed bills immediately. He can't even get a bill on his desk. So it's sad, exclamation point sad.
Oh my God.
But I understand what President Trump is doing. He's kind of running against Congress. He's running against Republicans. He's running against the swamp. When the swamp delivers, he'll claim credit. When the swamp doesn't, he'll try to get as far away from that stench and point his finger. So it's smart politically.
All right, Mo, all of this is happening while the Democrats actually are losing ground and they haven't really been able to bounce back after November. So as bad as the Republicans might look today on a day of infighting, the Democrats feeling worse?
No, I think there are a lot of Democrats right now that are kind of quietly cheering the president on in this fight, right? The more this Senate looks like it isn't doing anything, and the more the president of the United States, the better it is for Democrats who are running in 2018. So there is a little bit of productivity going on here. But I will say I agree completely with Jesse's point. This is exactly politically what Donald Trump wants. This is not a partisan fight the way it used to be, right? Careful.
Make a lot of sense.
It's probably the last time I'm going to say I agree with that. Right, but he's running against a system, and that is Democrat and Republican. It is the judiciary, the media, and the Congress.
Well, I do think that one thing, that the system of checks and balances continues to work. But people thought the Republic was going to fall apart, but guess what? The courts still get a say, and the Congress still gets a say, and the president gets mad, and that's just like, that's normal.
Yeah, and by the way, how is this... How is this a big story? We already understand Donald Trump for his conversational bluntness and the fact that he basically says what he thinks, and exactly what he said is what his voters think. So he's basically reflecting he's not changed. He's never going to change. And him and McConnell, they are like a married couple. They bicker. One is loud, the other one rolls her eyes, but they stick together. And I don't think,
so they're
like you said,
the honeymooners.
They're like the honeymooners. And I don't think Mitch minds. I think they need each other. And also I do think it was a bit overblown. I think Mitch was just answering a question.
Right.
And that was
also, who leaked the contents of the phone call? I bet I could figure it out.
Oh, tweet it.
No, it's okay. I mean, the president wanted to get back on the stage. He is back on the stage today in a very big way, Kimberly. I liked it that he talked to the press today. I've been wanting him to do a press conference.
I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. That's why he should do more of it.
No, I totally agree. I mean, he really